Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. This is Black Cloud Travels, and my name is Doris. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy this video. Here we're pulling out of our little lot in Valdez, Alaska, where we spent the last 3 days. They were eventful, yet blissfully uneventful. The rocks to your right, they are doing some blasting work where I imagine if we ever go back, we will find a big old campground set in there, because no doubt this place is going to become more and more popular. When it was introduced to us by Less Junk More Journey, back when they were there in 2018, it was quite empty. While we were there was a steady flow of traffic, and I'm sure it will be very, very busy in the upcoming years. It is so beautiful there. They've got glaciers floating in the water. You can kayak. I imagine you can fish with a license. And Frank and I had a really good time there. Now, somewhere around here behind the trees and the bushes is a firing range where Bob quivered all day long every time there was a shot fired, and there were many shots fired. Now, in the previous video, I told a story about how we came to Valdez and agonized over where we would camp in our little cubbyhole there in Valdez. I wanted to camp near the water, and Frank wanted to be a little further away, and we settled on a little further away in the backwoods. And there was only one other camper there next to us, and a few vans came now and again and stayed even further back. Now, the one thing to being further back is that there were no mosquitoes, and I was quite grateful for that. It was rather cool and a little breezy, which is really nice, and the view was glorious. I could see a glacier in the distance there, and I was in heaven. Now, in the previous video, I also told a story about how Frank purchased a kayak, an inflatable kayak, long before we even left for Alaska. It arrived about 6 months ahead, and we kept it in our living room. It was big, it was bulky, and we kind of left it in its box because we've all seen the comedy bits where you inflate a raft in a small enclosed space and there's just no getting out of it. So Frank decided to leave it in its box, unopened, unchecked, which in the end wasn't quite the smartest thing, because when the time came that we wanted to get his raft out so that he could go kayaking on that beautiful glacial lake, we opened the box to find that there was a big long slit in the rubber. And of course, this was most unfortunate, but we did only pay $100. It was on sale from Amazon. Live and learn. Now, I kind of took this as a blessing in disguise, because any glacial lake is very, very cold, and once you tip over, you got about 3 minutes to get out. And if you're out there a long way from shore, that's not a good thing. I have another story for you, kind of an Alaskaism. And this is the story of when we walked down to the water's edge so we could finally see that beautiful glacial lake up close. And I, wanting to be on the safe side, decided to opt for staying nice and warm. So I put on my elbow length mittens, I put on leggings, I had on a scarf, I had on a hat, I had on a big blue sweater, and I was nice and warm. Not to talk about also protecting myself from the mosquitoes, because those little stingers are pretty long and my woolens are pretty thick, so I figured I was pretty safe. Well, there was obviously no kayaking to be done, so we would be content just to sit by the waterside and enjoy the view. And there were people coming and going, there were people chasing their dogs, and there was a lot of mosquitoes. Just layers of them. So there we were, sitting on a picnic bench, enjoying the moment, when up pulled a white van, and out came this exquisitely dressed young lady, short, dark hair, shoulder length, wearing a smart black pantsuit, flats, short sleeves, armed with a camera. So out she got out of her van. She walked out over the rocks, took pictures here, took pictures there, teetered over more rocks, took more pictures. Never a slip, always sure-footed. It was beautiful to see. As she came back, we asked her about her plates, and she said she flew in from France, and she had a lovely French accent. And again, I was admiring how lovely she was as I was dressed in my woolens, my hat, my scarf, my leggings, my sweater, quite warm, and here she was in this lovely short-sleeved black pantsuit. That is something I'll never quite forget, and I can learn something from that too. Like my mother always said, beauty must suffer. As we were heading back to the camper, Frank took a long look at me and he commented that I was absolutely covered in mosquitoes, just covered in mosquitoes. And of course, I wasn't surprised. Lucky me. Story of my life. Somebody goes out there in a sleeveless back pantsuit, doesn't have one mosquito bite, and here I am, covered. So he basically beat me like an old rug hanging on a clothesline and tried to swat away the majority of the mosquitoes. They were all over, covered the sweater, covered my pants. And I, of course, welcomed this because I did not want to be trailing any mosquitoes back to the camper where there were no mosquitoes. So I took my time walking back, and I joined Frank in the occasional swat, and I believe I was relatively mosquito-free by the time we got back to the camper. This was a good thing. So, what did we do for 3 days in the Valdez? Well, for me, I had a good mind to spend as much time as I could staring at those glaciers. It's something you don't see every day, and I just love the glacial blue of it all. I spent a lot of time watercolor painting, trying to do my best in a very rudimentary way to get down what I was seeing. Not very good at it, but it was nice to try. And for the rest of the time, we sat in the sun, we walked the dog, we made lunch, made dinner, talked, listened to the news, and really enjoyed the moment. Also, like I mentioned in the previous video, Frank was kind of nervous about heading back up the Thompson Pass, so he was keeping a close watch on the weather reports. We did have some rain. We had a lot of sunshine, but he was worried about whether or not the Thompson Pass would be open or closed, and to make sure that we would be able to make a safe passage through the Thompson Pass. I had a lot of confidence in him. I knew he would make it. It would all be good in the end. And so here we are at the end of another video of Black Cloud Travels. I'd like to thank you for joining us, and please join us again. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. See you next time.